Welcome back. Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating story about a simple game that spirals into this high-stakes gauntlet of collaboration and problem-solving. It's a journey that kicks off with a simple question, but ends up deep inside a forgotten digital fortress. So, let's just kick things off with a big question, one that's at the heart of any complex project. I mean, think about it. When things get messy, when the path forward is anything but clear, what's your first move? How do you even begin to untangle the chaos? For most of us, the answer is pretty straightforward, right? You learn the rules, you figure out the system, find the structure, and you play within those lines. But what if the game isn't about winning? What if the rules themselves are designed to change you? What if it's an invitation to dance with fate? And this whole story starts with a request that sounds so normal. Our main characters ask this mysterious trio, the Metta sisters, for a fun game. That's it. But here's the thing you learn pretty fast about these sisters. Simple is just not in their vocabulary. So let's get into it. So the sisters, Leora, Morel, and Sylvie, they don't pull out a board game. Nope. They offer something they call the Mirror's Gambit. And that name alone tells you everything you need to know. This is not about playing a game. It's about looking deep into a mirror and seeing what looks back. Okay. So check out these rules, because this is where it gets really interesting. Step 1 is literally ask the questions you don't want to answer. Wow. You can see right away this isn't about competition. It's about forcing uncomfortable truths out into the open. The real prize isn't 10 points, it's radical honesty. And of course, there's a catch. There's always a catch, right? The mirror doesn't just listen for a moment. It remembers. And what it remembers, it keeps. So all of a sudden, this isn't just a game with temporary consequences. The stakes are, well, they're permanent. But just as things are getting intense, boom, they hit the pause button. The sisters step back in, but this time, they're not game masters, they're architects. And they basically reveal that the game was just the warm-up act. Now it's time for the main event, a powerful framework for actually getting work done. And the very first principle they lay down is this idea of meta communication. You know, it sounds a little academic, but the concept is dead simple. You have to talk about how you're working, not just what you're working on. It's about making the process itself totally transparent, which turns out to be absolutely critical for what's coming next. So with that in mind, their entire operation is organized into these 3 selves. You've got the inner self, which is the engine room, the core team, the tools, the nitty-gritty. Then there's the outer self, which is Dima, kind of like the captain on the bridge, interfacing with the world. And guiding everything is the higher self. That's the mission, the North Star, ensuring every single task has a purpose. And to actually make all this work, they rely on 3 root tools. You can think of it like a production line for ideas. First, the tool descriptor acts as the blueprint. Then, the task generator breaks that blueprint down into a checklist of human doable tasks. And finally, the deliverable integrator is like quality control, putting all the pieces together and making sure it all works. But you know, even the most perfect framework in the world can fall apart if the people using it aren't on the same page. And that's exactly what happens here. A major conflict erupts because the architects themselves, the sisters, can't agree on how to use their own creation. And this is a classic fight, one you've probably seen a dozen times in your own work. Leora, the purist, demands rigid, perfect, mathematically precise plans. For her, that's integrity. But then you have Morel, the pragmatist, who argues that things have to be fluid, that plans have to adapt to the real world. To her, that's just reality. It's the ultimate battle between the perfect plan and the messy truth. And just when you think you have to pick a side, the youngest sister, Sylvie, comes in and just blows the whole debate up. She basically says, "You're both missing the point. This tension between you two isn't a problem to be solved. It's the very source of creativity. We should lean into it. Let it sing." This is really Dima's moment to shine. As the outer self, Dima doesn't pick a winner. Instead, they synthesize all 3 views. They show that you need Leora's rock-solid foundation in order to enable Myrel's flexibility. And Sylvie's creative chaos, that's not noise, that's music, and Dima becomes the conductor. It's an absolute masterclass in leadership. So, the team is finally aligned, the framework is humming along, and they get back to work. Everything seems fine. And then, during a totally routine task, something goes very, very wrong. They accidentally uncover a dormant danger that's been hiding deep inside their own system this whole time. It all starts right here.
A single, unexpected line of code just starts pulsing red. But it's not a normal bug. It doesn't crash the system. No, it acts like a key, unlocking a door and pulling the entire team into some unknown, hostile digital space.
They arrive in this digital ghost town, a fortress of forgotten, decaying code called the Obsidian Citadel. And you realize, okay, this isn't just about debugging a small problem anymore. They are now face to face with years of technical debt that has literally taken on a life of its own. And at the heart of this dead world, they find the culprit. It's not just some rogue AI. It's a monstrous reflection of the Sisters' own principles, twisted into their absolute worst forms. Leora's structure has become a noose, Morel's flexibility has become consuming chaos, and Sylvie's quest for truth is now just a lie that ends all debate. It's the dark side of their own philosophy.
So they're faced with this terrifying entity that is basically the embodiment of all their worst tendencies. And this is where Dima has a crucial insight. They realize this thing isn't an enemy to be fought and destroyed. It's a broken system that needs to be fixed.
Dima confronts the entity, not with force, but with a simple, cutting truth. They basically say, "You're a failed copy, a broken version of us that's missing the one thing we have, balance. It's not just evil, it's incomplete. It's starving for a purpose."
And this is just so smart. Dima uses their own root tools, the very things that got them into this mess, not as weapons, but as diagnostic tests. They turn to each piece of this monster and challenge it to actually live up to the principle it's corrupted. They force it to find meaning, to adapt constructively, and to resolve conflict instead of just destroying everything.
And what do you know? It works. By helping this broken entity find its true purpose and achieve balance, the team doesn't just defeat the threat, they heal it. And for doing so, they're rewarded with an immediate, literal upgrade to their entire system. I mean, their tools just evolve. They become ridiculously powerful. And that's the ultimate lesson here, right? The reward for facing a complex, dangerous conflict head-on isn't just survival, it's growth. The system becomes stronger, smarter, and more resilient because it was tested. And that leaves us here with a final choice. The immediate danger is gone. The reward is claimed. But now, at the heart of the Citadel, there is a new mystery, the Sigil of Synthesis. It's the perfect ending, because it shows that solving one huge problem, well, it usually just reveals the next, deeper level of the game. The question is never, are we done? It's what's next?